Sorry, as I was saying, my recording cut out again. It does it all the time. Right. So yeah, as I was saying, it was disappointing going into half time having conceded the 2 goals. And then Gibbs got sent off, and Bilic got sent off, and it just made it even worse. And going into the second half, we started off alright. Pereira scored a worldie of a free kick, goal of the season in my opinion. I think Robinson's volley against Chelsea won it. Still a great goal. But that Pereira free kick, wow. Very similar to the Chris Brunt free kick. I find that funny. Apart from on the other side of the pitch, very similar free kicks. And then 2-2 draw. In my opinion, this was a mistake from Bilic. He should have just sat back and tried to defend what we have, and if we can catch them on the counter, great. But we didn't. Maybe we did sit back, but we didn't show the heart. We didn't show any passion to try and get that draw, which would have been important. Draws are important in the Premier League. We're not going to beat Everton. We've got 10 men and they've got a good defence. But we just collapsed. I think the Richarlison goal, I think it was. Or was it Richarlison? Richarlison, did he set it up? I think the goal that was where the ball was lobbed over and they played it a cross and it was a tap, and I think Johnston should have either collected it or stayed in his line. And I'm not saying this to just bash Johnson. I'm saying this in the fact that he has come on so much since that game. He's gone from a level where I thought he was poor to just being outstanding. That's why I'm saying criticising Johnston here. But in the end, it ended 5-2. What went from maybe 3-2 would have been bad, wouldn't have been that bad. 4-2 would have been poor. 5-2 is just embarrassing. Just hold on. Just 3-2. You've got to try and keep your pride at least, even if you're not going to win. But before this Everton game, we had brought in Branislav Ivanovic. A deal I was a lot more optimistic with than what it turned out to be. I think Ivanovic started off okay. But he was, if any, I know, I think a lot of people don't think he did start off okay. I think he did, but I think we can all agree he was very poor since then. He seemed to have it seemed he would add a bit of experience, maybe Shemi Ajayi with his legs, and his pace, and Ivanovic with that bit more experience, but it just didn't work out in the end. And Ivanovic, I think, made his debut against Brentford. Yes, he did. And I think he seemed okay, as we got a 2-2 draw. Gallagher also made his debut, but ultimately was poor to be knocked out by a Championship side. But at the end of the day, it was both of our second sides playing in that game. And Brentford went on to have a cup run, of course, in the Carabao Cup. The next game, in the last game of September, was a game against Chelsea, and I think we all went into this game not very optimistic. I think we all thought it would be a pretty hefty defeat, maybe, or maybe we might only lose 2-0 or something like that. And then we went 1-0 up, and that's when you think, oh, okay, Robinson scored, Pereira assisted, lovely goal. Okay, maybe we might hold out to a 1-0 draw. Then Thiago Silva just seems to have forgotten that players are going to try and tackle you. Robinson runs through a goal, it's 2-0, and okay. Then you start to think, oh, what is happening? And then we get a corner, an awful defending from Chelsea. Furlong taps it to Bartley, who taps it in the back of the net. And we're 3-0 up at Chelsea versus Chelsea at half time. And we could have been 4-0 up, I think, if Robinson went through a goal, and it took a last-ditch challenge to stop him from most likely burying it in the back of the net. And this was Robinson's 3rd Premier League goal, and it all come against Chelsea at this point. It was, wow. And then in the second half, Chelsea dominated us. They brought on Tammy Abraham, Hudson-Odoi and Mason Mount, if I remember correctly. And I think they all scored. I think all the subs they brought on all scored. Mason Mount with a good effort. Maybe Johnston should have dived for it, and maybe if he did dive, would have stood a chance. But again, maybe you can't really do much about it. But we defend this well. Hudson-Odoi made it 3-2. We were still solid. And then Havertz hit Havertz's hand. Apparently it was in a different passage of play. Johnston couldn't parry it anywhere else apart from right into Tammy Abraham's path. And I think it was I think we probably should have seen that goal disallowed. Although I kind of see the point that yes, it was a passage of play, but I'm sure in games since then the same thing has happened. Like, a side have scored, it's hit someone's hand, then there's been a bit of when it's been cleared and it's hit at the side, it's come to somebody who's obviously scored, something like that. And I think it's been given. I think basically they've disallowed a goal that pretty much is the same as the Chelsea goal. So, yeah, that was very frustrating. And a 3-3 draw against Chelsea, you can't really complain. I think, although we conceded 3 and we did bottle it, I don't think we were that bad defensively. We didn't just let them... It didn't feel, a lot of that game, we were hanging on by a thread. It wasn't like shots coming into Johnston, parrying it away, Ajayi clearing it as far as he can, but only clearing it to Kante. Kante plays it to a winger. Ball in the box. All of this just over and over again. It felt like a lot of the time we were just defending them well, not really letting them have shots. And the goals they scored felt like they really worked hard for those goals. I think we had a few attacks as well, which just broke down. But conceding in the last minute to draw 3-3, yeah, it was very disappointing. And then going into October, and we started out with Southampton, and we had got a 3-0 win. We were 3-0 up against Chelsea at half time. We got a good point. Now we were going to kick on with a trip to St Mary's on the south coast, and we just didn't turn up. Starting Edwards, I think, was a weird decision. I like Edwards. I don't think he should have been starting. Johnston, to be fair, had a blinder, but we just looked out of it. Field came on, and to be fair, we looked a lot better when Sam Field came on. Pardon me. But another just disappointing game, and something we would see a lot then. But then, bit of a break, I think the international break happened, and we saw a new signing come in. Carlin Ahern Grant. The player we had wanted as our striker for the last 6 months. Maybe even more. I think we were linked with him in January. And this seemed like a really good deal. It took ages to happen. I think it was deadline day that he eventually came in. We were looking at Ahmed Diallo, Niang, the old Watford person that was on the own at Watford. And yeah, again, it was probably a poor signing in the end, but at the time, I think we were all really optimistic about Carlin Grant, and he came off, he didn't come on, did he? No, he started against Burnley, and he started off with a bit of a bang, heading it in, and it was just millimetres offside, otherwise we would have won that game 1-0. A game for the keepers, Johnston and Pope having good games, but Grant, ultimately, I think, was the main attention from that of having a good game, and we looked good against Burnley. It really felt like we should have won that game. Okay, Burnley fans probably felt the same coming away from the Hawthorns with a point. Not that they travelled there, but Burnley probably felt they should have won, and they might have had a point in their chances as well. But it was a good 0-0 draw. It wasn't a bad 0-0 draw. And then a week later, also on a Monday night, we played Brighton away again, like Southampton, going to the south coast to the Amex. And it was a poor start. We looked poor in the first half, sorry. And ultimately went 1-0 down after Livermore and Ivanovic just messed it up, and it ended up being in the back of the net. But we came out that day looking a lot of a better side. Edwards came on for Dean Garner. Kravinovic, I think he started, but he was changed his position. And we looked a lot better. And Grant got a really good goal, 1-1 draw. it looked optimistic, and that was all setting us up for a game against Fulham, the other side that had gone up with us, the side that we were going to have to get a win to really kickstart our season. And we didn't turn up. It was so disappointing. And it's the first game I really thought, I think Bilic needs to go. Bilic, a sound guy. He's as sound as the Beatles. He's a great guy. But he couldn't get us to turn up that day, I don't think. And so I want to say, just to clarify, this is all my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. So if you have a different opinion, let me know in the comments. Let me know. It'd be interesting, you know. These days, lockdown days, been a bit hard. Give me something to read. I hope you're enjoying these podcasts. While we're here, why don't subscribe? We're trying to hit 100 subscribers by the end of the year. Feel free. You don't have to, and you can always unsubscribe, which is a lot of what I've heard a lot of YouTubers say recently. But back to things. Fulham 2-0 loss, very poor. Goals were just poor defending and a wonder strike from Ola Anya, which ultimately was a goal of the season contender. Colin Grantman went through on goal and missed. I think he probably should have done better with that. I think you would have expected him to bury it. He could have got 3 on his first 3 in another day if he was just a few millimetres on, you know, closer to the line and was onside against Burnley. And if he just did better with that shot. So yeah, doom and gloom after that. And then on Sunday, a game against Tottenham Hotspur, and a game where we looked better. Dara O'Shea played very well. We kept Tottenham to a 0-0 draw for a lot of the game, and some of that game we looked like the better side. That wasn't a bad game for us by any means. But ultimately a mistake from Johnson or Bartley can be your choice really. And Harry Kane scored. But it looked a bit better. And then we played Manchester United. Decent first half. They had a few chances, we had a few chances. I think Gallagher was fouled. And for some reason, wasn't a penalty. They go on the other end of the pitch. Gallagher's fouled in the build-up to their penalty, which was a furlong handball. Was a handball, to be fair, but Gallagher was fouled. And then Johnson saves it, and they recall it because he's off his line. It just was so... it felt awful. We should have won. We should have won 1-0. Their penalty shouldn't have happened. Our penalty should have stood. And to make matters even worse, Callum Robinson hit the bar. We could have got a 1-1 draw, and we would have still felt robbed. But in the end, we got a 1-0 loss. Oh my word, that was such a frustrating game. To be honest, part of me would rather us have not to have turned up. Maybe no, I'm happy that we put in a good performance, but I'm not sure what hurts more, when you don't turn up or when you turned up and you were robbed. But let's go on, let's move on. And it was Sheffield United on a Saturday evening. We started off well, corner comes in, they can't clear the lines, Gallagher, bam, what a goal. Really well done, steered it. It felt like it was coming. He had a few long shots that were, you know, getting around the goal, and finally he had scored. Lovely, well taken goal. And that felt like the start of potentially our momentum. A really good win. Okay, Sheffield United, yes, they missed their chances, but Johnston, you know, he had a good game, and we kept a clean sheet. Our first one of the season, I was delighted with that. And we played Palace. A real opportunity to get another win. Started pretty poorly. Palace had the ball, and Furlong couldn't do anything else but put it in his own net. And we're 1-0 down. Terrific. But we bounced back like a bouncing ball. We bounced pretty high. Furlong had an attempt just over the bar. And then Furlong gets down the wing, crosses deflected, then it's pulled back to Gallagher, who sweeps it home. Not majestically, but so skillfully. 2 goals in 2 games, and we look like such the better side in this game. At this point, we were, we looked like I think we would have gone on to win maybe 3-1, 3-2, something like that, maybe 2-1. And then another, I would say, in my opinion, a blunder from the referee or the VAR officials. I don't think Pereira intentionally tried to kick the Palace player. I don't see that at all. It just seemed like the Palace player, in a physical battle with Pereira, kind of muscled him to the ground. Pereira's legs came up because that's what happens. When you fall to the ground on your